On tonight's summary of the Israel-Hamas War, day 187, all sides are still awaiting Hamas's answer to the hostage negotiations. The proposal deal reportedly allows 150,000 Palestinians to return to the northern parts of the Gaza Strip without IDF inspection. The IDF carries out an airstrike in al-Shati refugee camp, assassinating the three sons of Hamas's leader Ismail Haniyeh. Israel announces it is restoring the water lines to the Gaza Strip, including the northern line that has been shut off since October 8th. Bracing for regional war, Iran threatens to attack Israel directly. Israel in turn threatens all-out war if it is attacked. Tehran airspace was reportedly closed as of midnight tonight. While sending regional allies to try and placate Iran, the United States has threatened that it will both assist in Israel's defense as well as possibly join in an Israeli retaliation if necessary. Hello everyone, I'm Alon Burstein, visiting assistant professor in the Department of Political Science and Israel Institute fellow at the University of California, Irvine, here to bring you the summary of the last 24 hours of the Israel-Hamas War. It is currently the evening of April 10th, 2024 in the United States, the morning of April 11th, 2024 in the Middle East. Starting with the hostage situation, amidst the different reports in the last several days regarding what has been proposed to Hamas after the summit in Cairo, yesterday the Wall Street Journal reported that in addition to the formula regarding how many Palestinian prisoners will be released in exchange for each Israeli hostage, the U.S. compromise that was proposed to Hamas includes the return of some 150,000 internally displaced Palestinians to the northern parts of the Gaza Strip. While this was initially denied by sources in Israel yesterday, today Reuters and other news sites quoted senior Israeli officials confirming that report, adding that contrary to what was reported yesterday, the proposal states that the civilians will return to the northern parts of the Gaza Strip without having to go through IDF security inspections. In return, Hamas is supposed to supply lists of 40 live hostages that it can return in the first phase of the hostage deal. The report adds that the aim of this substantial expansion of the amount of civilians who would be allowed to return to the northern parts of the Gaza Strip and not even go through IDF inspections is meant to entice Hamas into agreeing to a first phase of the deal without achieving the complete ceasefire that it wants. In turn, that is also the reason that Israel has not agreed to this compromise yet. It is waiting to see what Hamas's answer is. According to the report, the external leadership of Hamas agreed to the terms that were in the U.S. compromise. However, the internal leadership has not given its answer yet. I emphasize that while that is what was reported in Israel and in several different reports that were then quoted the Israeli sites, Hamas has not confirmed that the external leadership has agreed. The external leadership has not given any answer. All statements thus far regarding the deal from Hamas have been rather negative, and everyone is currently awaiting the answer of Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. In addition to this, a report was published today that sheds some light on the developments and expanded mandate that the Israeli negotiation team received after many weeks said the team was not allowed to negotiate anything beyond what Israel initially stated. According to what was published today, a body cam video from one of the Hamas Nukhba attackers from October 7th was located in the Gaza Strip, showing scenes from the kidnapping of female IDF soldiers in the day of the attack on October 7th. According to the report, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant had asked for the video to be shown to members of the War Cabinet after it was found in the Gaza Strip, and it was following this viewing that some members of the War Cabinet agreed to expand the mandate to return the hostages that are still held in the Gaza Strip. In addition, it was also added in the report that Gallant asked the video be shown to members of the expanded cabinet as well. However, the vast majority of them refused. The report concludes with a statement made by Israel's Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, who reportedly refused to watch the video, and asked other members of the expanded cabinet who were considering watching it, why do they want to do that? Do they not want to sleep well at night anymore? So that may shed some light on why there has been a seeming change in the mandate of the negotiating team that has gone to Cairo, and in general in the War Cabinet, but why the expanded cabinet is still not shown any flexibility. Right now, all sides are still awaiting Hamas's answer to the proposal. Moving on to the Gaza Strip, there was a barrage of 4 rockets that were fired from the central parts of the Gaza Strip targeting Israel. However, they did not manage to cross over into Israeli airspace and crashed into the Gaza Strip. It was not reported specifically where they crashed or if they actually caused any damage. Regarding fighting in the Gaza Strip, in the northern parts of the Gaza Strip, the IDF carried out an airstrike today in al-Shati refugee camp in the western parts of Gaza City, targeting the family members of the head of Hamas's external leader Ismail Haniyeh. 3 of his sons, Hazem, Amir, and Muhammad Haniyeh, were all killed, along with the 3 of his grandchildren. The IDF put out a joint statement with the Shabak hours later, stating that one of his sons, Ismail Haniyeh, was a commander in an El-Qassam unit, and Hazem and Muhammad Haniyeh were both military operatives within the movement, and that they were on their way to carry out terror operations. Ismail Haniyeh, who has come under a lot of criticism for living lavishly in Qatar while the situation deteriorates in Gaza, stated after the assassination that there is no difference between his family and the other martyrs in Gaza, and that the targeting of his family will not cause Hamas to change its positions. While several reports in Israel questioned the logic of carrying out such an assassination while Israel is awaiting Hamas's answer in the hostage negotiations, later reports came out also suggesting that the political establishment in Israel was actually not informed of the assassination before it happened. According to the reports, the protocol for the assassination's authorization was due to what is called bursting intelligence, which indicated that one of Haniyeh's sons had been involved in holding Israeli hostages, and thus the assassination was authorized immediately without going up the channels to higher ranks. Alongside his children, it was reported that Haniyeh's grandchildren, Amal, Mona, and Razan, and later it was also reported that his grandson Khaled, were also killed. In addition to this, other airstrikes were also reported in the northern parts of the Gaza Strip, in Jabalia refugee camps, and in Sajaiya. According to reports, these targeted different launching sites. In the central parts of the Gaza Strip, there were several bombings that were reported in the El Zahara region. This is in the northern parts of Al-Nusirat refugee camp. In addition to this, there's also ongoing fighting that is reported in the central areas, presumably around the Netzarim corridor that the IDF is maintaining. According to reports, these included attacks against launching sites and RPG positions. Other news related to the Gaza Strip. Reports started to be published today that alongside the Palestinian civilians that have been returning to Khan Yunis since the IDF's withdrawal from the area several days ago, Hamas is also beginning to re-establish its governance within the region. The Hamas units are, according to the reports, careful to not operate in groups and are only armed with clubs, but their presence is meant to both symbolically show the population that they are still the governing body in the region, and also to practically begin rebuilding the movement's control after a lot of the operatives fled the areas of Khan Yunis. The process, the IDF sources stated in the reports, is similar to what happened in the northern parts of the Gaza Strip, where without a political move to fill the gap after the Hamas administration had collapsed, once the IDF withdrew, Hamas officials are de facto the ones that end up managing daily life, anything ranging from sanitation to removing rubble on roads to enforcing market stability. There's no other governing body other than Hamas. The sources stated that the same thing is currently happening in Khan Yunis, and the reports that quoted different anonymous IDF officers were heavily critical of this, stating that with all the fighting that's being done, Hamas cannot be destroyed without an actual plan for a different governing body that will replace the organization. Related to a future Rafah invasion and the situation in Khan Yunis, Israel's Minister Gantz, who's a member of the War Cabinet, also stated today that the fighting is going to take time, and he added, and I quote, "We will enter Rafah and we will return to Khan Yunis, and anywhere there are terror targets, the IDF will be there." So what he's implying is that, again, rather than viewing the IDF's withdrawal from Khan Yunis as an end to the phase, that this is only a tactical withdrawal before another large-scale invasion. However, again, he does not offer any plans regarding how the successes of the IDF in deposing Hamas are going to be maintained. Regarding casualties, no IDF soldiers reported killed in the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours, leaving the total number of IDF soldiers killed in the Gaza Strip since the invasion began on 260. Despite a few injuries that were reported of IDF soldiers, the official number of IDF soldiers who were injured in the Gaza Strip since the invasion has been updated and is actually one lower than yesterday. That official number is now 1,560. The Palestinian Health Ministry in the Gaza Strip is reporting that 122 Palestinians were killed in the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of Palestinians killed in the Gaza Strip since the war began to 33,482. 76,049 Palestinians are reported injured in the Gaza Strip since the war began. I remind everyone that the IDF's latest estimates are that some 12,000 Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and other armed operatives have been killed in the Gaza Strip since the war began. Moving on to the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip, there were continuous missions of paradropping aid throughout the Gaza Strip, specifically the northern parts of the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours. These included 13 planes today, which included 4 United States planes, 3 Jordanian planes, and 1 plane respectively from Egypt, the UAE, United Kingdom, France, Germany, and Holland. U.S. Central Command reported that the paradropping mission from the U.S. planes today were enough for 50,000 meals in the Gaza Strip. In addition, continuing the statements that were made yesterday by the IDF coordinator of activities in the Palestinian territories, the IDF announced today that over 500 trucks have passed inspection and are awaiting on the Israeli side of the Kerem Shalom crossing to be picked up by aid agencies. However, that the holdup is on the Gazan side, since the humanitarian aid agencies in the Gaza Strip cannot handle this volume of trucks coming in. The statements of the IDF coordinator chastised the United Nations for holding things up, concluding with, and I quote, "UN, do your job, focus on distribution, and stop blaming Israel for your colossal failures." Other news related to the humanitarian situation. Several different reports came in today regarding the water lines from Israel to the Gaza Strip. The southern water line into Khan Yunis was reportedly badly damaged during the IDF invasion and the bombings that occurred in the Khan Yunis area 4 months ago. The Palestinian Water Authority has begun repairing it in the last several weeks. According to the report today, Israel has agreed to renew the flow of water through it once it is repaired. In addition, Israel responded today to a court case in the Israeli High Court of Justice. A court case is being debated where different humanitarian organizations have appealed to the court to compel the Israeli government to increase the humanitarian aid and improve the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip. In Israel's response to the court today, it stated that the country intends on reopening the northern water line into the Gaza Strip. This water line has been cut off since Israel initially cut it off alongside cutting off the electricity to the Gaza Strip on October 8th, 2023, a day after the attack. In addition, amidst the international demands that Israel allow access of humanitarian aid trucks that will come directly from Jordan through Israel to the Gaza Strip rather than bypassing through Egypt, it was reported today that the process appears to have been initiated without any announcement. Convoys of Jordanian trucks have been seen along the southern roads of Israel, and they are being escorted by IDF military police units, traveling from Jordan through towards what appears to be the Nitzana crossing before traveling to Kerem Shalom and entering into the Gaza Strip. The report suggested that in the past few days, some 60 trucks have traveled each day from Jordan to the Gaza Strip. Several different reports, and specifically the demand of the United Kingdom, has been that up to 100 trucks per day be allowed to travel along this corridor. In addition to this, speaking at a press conference today, U.S. President Biden stated that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu promised him in their last conversation that he will open another corridor into the northern parts of the Gaza Strip, stating that he was very direct with Netanyahu and with the war cabinet, who all agreed to allow more aid into the Gaza Strip and to lower the amount of civilian casualties in Gaza. Moving on to the West Bank, there was a settler attack that was reported against Palestinians in the Burqa village near Ramallah. The Palestinian Red Crescent reported that 3 Palestinians were shot during confrontations with raiding settlers, and the IDF also confirmed that its forces were present in the area and that shots were fired. It was not reported specifically if the Palestinians were injured by shots of the settlers or of the IDF. However, in all of the reports that came out about this incident, no arrests were reported. In addition to this, was substantial IDF activity that was reported in different parts of the West Bank. These include raids in Tulkarem, in Idna west of Hebron, in other areas of Hebron, and in Beit Amrin and Nablus, as well as in Dahaisha refugee camp near Bethlehem, where a lot of confrontations reportedly erupted. 11 Palestinians were reported arrested in the West Bank in the last 24 hours. Moving on to the northern parts of Israel, southern parts of Lebanon, there were continuous rockets that were fired from Lebanon by Hezbollah, targeting the northern parts of Israel in the last 24 hours. These include rockets that targeted the areas of Hardov. There were also barrages towards Kiryat Shmona, Tel Chai, Maayan Baruch. Other rockets were also fired towards Kfar Giladi and Kfar Yuval. There were also drone alerts that were sounded throughout the day in the Upper Galilee. However, it was not reported if any drones did actually cross over or if they were intercepted. Regarding IDF activity, IDF warplanes reportedly targeted Hezbollah military structures in the areas of Ita Ash'ab, as well as terror infrastructures in Al-Hayam. Artillery fire was also reported in the areas of Anakora, and there were several different other incidents of artillery fire targeting different launching sites. It was not reported, however, where they were. In addition to this, Al-Akhbar reported today that Mohammed Ibrahim Sarur, who's a money launderer who is on the U.S. sanction list and has been accused by the Israeli Mossad of channeling money from Iran to terror organizations in Gaza, was found killed today in the Beit Meri town near Beirut. The Saudi Al-Hadath news network reported that Sarur was on the Mossad's most wanted list since 2018, and that different Palestinians have been interrogated over the years due to their contacts with Sarur. He was found having been shot 7 times, and according to Al-Ahbar, contact with him was lost on Thursday. The Mossad or Israel did not give any information about this incident. In several different newspapers within Lebanon, it was reported that this was a Mossad attack. However, no evidence was given beyond stating that fact, which I will say is very likely. Moving on to some of the regional developments, there's major rhetoric escalation between Iran and Israel, with the region bracing itself for what may be a possible spark that will lead to an explosion between the countries and all-out regional war. As a reminder, on Monday, April 1st, there was an attack against the Iranian consulate in Damascus, assassinating, among others, Mohammad Raza Zahedi, the commander of all Iranian Revolutionary Guard forces in Syria and Lebanon. Israel did not explicitly take responsibility for this attack. However, it is widely accepted that Israel is the one who carried it out. The United States has also as much as stated that fact. Along with Zahedi, who is the most senior Iranian official in the region, and his assassination is a major blow to Iran, his deputy and several other Iranian generals were also killed in this attack. Since then, the region has been bracing itself for a retaliation that will come either from Iran or from one of the Iranian militias, and has been speculating how this retaliation is going to take place. Today, Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, stated that, quote, "Consulates are part of our land, and an attack on them constitutes an attack on our country." He added, "Israel made a mistake and will pay the price." So he's heavily implying that Iran is going to be the one who actually carries out the retaliation because it sees the attack on the consulate as an attack on Iran itself. Following this, several Israeli statements were issued stating that if Iran launches an attack against Israel, Israel is going to retaliate, targeting Iran itself. Reportedly, Israeli officials conveyed this message to the United States as well, warning the United States that if this happens, Israel will retaliate. Hours later, American sources were also quoted in Al Jazeera, stating that if Iran or its allies attack Israel, the U.S. will assist Israel in its defense, adding that the U.S. may also participate in other retaliations as well, implying that if war breaks out between Israel and Iran, the United States is going to be an active participant. U.S. President Biden stated today in relation to all this that the U.S. has an ironclad commitment to Israel's security, and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also stated similar things. It was also reported that the U.S. intelligence agencies expect Iran's retaliation against Israel in the coming days. Amidst all this rhetoric, the Iranian news agency Maher quoted Iranian Defense Minister Mohammad Raza Ashtiani tonight, stating that as of midnight, all airspace around Tehran is going to be closed due to military exercises. Lufthansa announced that it is suspending all of its flights to Tehran for a single day until April 11th, with the reason being the situation in the Middle East. And the Tasnim news agency also reported that Iran's foreign ministers held talks today with the foreign ministers of Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and the United Arab Emirates. It was later reported in Axios that the United States had requested the different foreign ministers in the Arab countries to pressure Iran to avoid an all-out escalation with Israel. Half an hour after that report came up in the Iranian news agencies about closing Tehran's airspace, that report was deleted from all the news agencies, and they also denied ever putting it up. It is unclear right now if the airspace above Tehran is open or closed, and what in fact is going to be this retaliation. When is it going to be? Is this in preparation for retaliation? All that remains to be seen in the coming days. Other regional developments in Yemen, the Houthis reported carrying out several attacks throughout the day, using drones and nautical missiles in their attacks. The statement added that 2 Israeli ships, the MSC Darwin and the MSC Gina, were attacked in the Gulf of Aden, as well as a U.S. ship, the Maersk Yorktown. It was not reported throughout the day if any of these ships were actually hit by these drones or missiles, or if damage was done. U.S. Central Command reported later destroying 11 Houthi missiles in Yemen in various retaliations. Some of the political trends from the last 24 hours, only one report that is somewhat associated with this escalation with Iran. Following the assassination of his sons, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh received several condolence calls from different leaders. These include the Turkish President Erdogan, who stated that Israel is going to answer for its crimes against humanity, as well as from Palestinian Authority Chairman Mahmoud Abbas. In addition to this, he also received calls from the President of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, as well as from Iranian Foreign Minister. Both of them stated that Israel is soon going to see the results of its crimes and pay the price. Again, this was taken within context of this escalating rhetoric, and possibly that Iran is implying that it is going to carry out its retaliation against Israel in the coming days. Again, remains to be seen. If you find these reports important, please do remember to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications if you want to know when reports come out. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I try to answer each one. That is my report for the last 24 hours. I'll be back tomorrow.